Peggy Hall back with you from thehealthyamerican.org, streaming live. Let me know where you are tuning in from. We are closing out the month of July, coming right up here. So I want to thank all of you for being on board. Let me get this all queued up for you. And here we go. Okay. Not sure what's going on with the lighting here on my camera, but let's just make the best of it, shall we? I want to introduce you to a healthy American, and his name is Ronald Owens, and he was a employee at the California State Department of Public Health. And he was raising concerns about all of these illegal measures that were being inflicted upon we, the people in California. He's a personal friend of mine. He has appeared on our private webinars. Those of you that are paid donors, you have access to all of those interviews. I'm going to introduce you to Ronald here via a very well-written email that he sent me a copy of that went to the California Department, that went to the Orange County Board of Supervisors. Yes, I think that's how you pronounce it. And I want to tell you exactly what he shared and how he was penalized for speaking out against this throughout these last few years. So there have been people in the government speaking up and speaking out against these horrific impositions and inflictions that were sloshed all over us. So many of you were asking me, Peggy, how could people be going along with this at the government levels? And they really weren't. I helped plenty of people in all walks of government stand up against their employer. And I want to tell you more about that. But before we do, let's get our sponsor message out here for you. So give me just a moment as we hop right on over. And this is getnativepathcollagen.com/Peggy. I'll have a link for you in the description box below. And you know, and I know that finding an honest doctor that isn't following in the footsteps of big pharma can feel impossible. And that's why millions of men and women have turned to one Texas doctor. And the 7 reasons he says that anyone over the age of 50, such as yours truly, should be drinking this one thing. It's not milk. It's not another calcium-rich drink. It's unique protein that naturally declines with age and is proven to significantly increase bone strength and soothe joint pain. It minimizes wrinkles and cellulite, enhances hair follicle thickness, and even reverses nail damage. So users are reporting results in as little as 2 weeks. So as a partner of the show, this doctor is offering all of my healthy Americans up to 45% off his bone, joint, and ligament restoring formula at getnativepathcollagen.com/Peggy. This has thousands of 5-star reviews. There have been millions of jars sold, and every order comes with a 365-day money-back guarantee. So there's no risk for you to try it today. Again, all of my listeners here at The Healthy American can visit getnativepathcollagen.com/Peggy. I will have a link for you as we finish up this video and in the description box, and you'll get up to 45% off while supplies last. Friends, I want to introduce you to a healthy American, Ronald Owens. He is the author of a book called Muzzled Truth. Let me share this with you. And this is not an advertisement. I actually received this book from Ronald, and he came on to our private webinar, and he just sent me a really well-written, detailed email that he sent to the Orange County Board of Supervisors. And I want to share that with you. So here is the blurb for the book. Muzzled Truth, says Ronald Owens, reveals my experiences and observations before, during, and after the hogwash, questioning the flu shot efficacy, the childhood cocktail risks, and the response to cooties. The book highlights my efforts to inform the California Department of Public Health senior leadership about the potential of properly dosed ivermectin. It also exposes Secretary Xavier Becerra's shocking statement on vaccine risks, revealing how the California Department of Public Health management suppressed the truth. Unmuzzle the truth by reading Muzzled Truth. So thank you so much, Ronald. Here he is. As I say, he's been a guest on my private webinar where we could speak without any censorship. And we may not see eye to eye on everything, especially in terms of, the existence of these pathogens, but that's not his beef. His beef is that he stood up against the California Department of Public Health. He raised the alarm time and time again because his job was as an information officer. He could not put out press releases that even had like a typo in them. They were scrutinized, yet he was being told that he had to disseminate this information that he knew was false, fraudulent, and phony. And so he shared with us his journey of speaking up and speaking out against the senior management. He did not muzzle himself, and he did not become a human pincushion, but he also, let me tell you a little bit about it. I'm going to read to you his well-written email to the Orange County Board of Supervisors. And if you would like to send that as well, just email us over at support@thehealthyamerican.org. We can get you a copy, or you know what? I will put a copy in my Substack. That's the fastest way to get it to everyone. And that is peggyhall.substack.com. You probably know that I've been fighting against these, I call them public serpents, for many years because I can't stand the fraud. I've exposed their fraud blatantly, yet they are still doing business with evil. And I know that God is going to deal with them. Vengeance is his alone, but he does ask us to expose their evil deeds and then not have anything to do with them. So we're supposed to just expose that, get it out in the open. And that's what I'm doing. So let me share with you his email that he just sent. And this was emailed yesterday, July 29th, at the time that I'm recording this. And this is how Ronald opens his email. The United States Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra said on April 14th, 2022, we know that, and I'm using my code words to trick the algorithm, we know that the cooties cocktails are killing people of color, Blacks, Latinos, Indigenous people at about 2 times the rate of white Americans. He goes on to say, this Secretary Becerra, who, by the way, comes from good old California. Yes, evil begets evil. Becerra goes on to say, secondly, by having better data, we can do a couple of things. The cocktails a year ago today, by the way, we know that the cocktails are killing people. All right, he said this. And I'm reading Ronald's email. It says, this quote appears on the White House's official YouTube channel and begins at about the 45.50 mark. To listen to his quote in context, scroll back to hear the question of the Housing Secretary, Marcia Fudge, as well as Secretary Becerra. So Ronald continues his email. I was an information officer, level 2, with the California Department of Public Health's Office of Public Affairs. It's now called the Office of Communications. I was in that position from March 2nd, 2009 until December 31st, 2023. During my last 18 months at the department, I shared with the department leadership on multiple occasions when Becerra said, talked about the risks associated with these cocktails. I also emailed the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System data to the California Department of Public Health Management. This data indicated thousands of deaths, hospitalizations, urgent care visitations, and doctor office visits. This data also displayed the number of people who developed serious injuries, such as anaphylaxis, Bell's palsy. Okay, just as an aside from his email to the Board of Supervisors, you have been sending me your own anecdotal information as well as links of things that you've seen on TV. We've seen plenty of celebrities being splashed across the headlines with several of these types of side effects as well. All right, Ronald goes on to write, people have developed serious injuries and they've suffered miscarriages, heart attacks, myocarditis, pericarditis. They're permanently disabled. They've had low platelet, life-threatening, severe allergic reactions and shingles as a result of being injected with these cocktails. I noted that the smallpox program for healthcare workers back in 2003 was halted after just 2 deaths according to an August 22nd, 2003 New Scientist article. I also noted some medical subject matter experts indicate that the VAERS data reflects only a small number of actual injuries and deaths. I didn't know until developing this memo that LifeSite News reported some of the same data on June 7th, 2022. Again, friends, I'm reading to you from a Healthy Americans email that he sent to the Orange County Board of Supervisors, alerting them very clearly to all of these dangers. And I will have this for you on my Substack because Ronald also has links to all of this information. So any of you that have loved ones, or maybe you've got a rift in a relationship because they are seeing things differently than you are related to keeping your body healthy and pure and not becoming a human pincushion, this is very well researched and referenced. Now, you know that I don't even care if it has Hershey's chocolate syrup when it comes to the cocktails. I'm never going to do it. I don't want to be told that now they have safe ingredients and there's been plenty of safety testing. And look at all of these. I mean, another one of Del Bigtree's, I should say, initiatives for a bill that he wants to introduce into some of the state legislatures is saying that every single public servant, as I call them, would have to be injected in order for the legislature to recommend that everybody else become a human pincushion. Well, I don't like those terms. How do we know that they really are going to become injected? And how do we know that there's not going to be side effects many years down the road? And I don't like this presenting this new paradigm that if they do it, then we have to do it too. I don't care if anyone else thinks it's safe. I'm not going to do it. So you know, because I've spoken about it at great length, that for me, the bottom line is no government, no employer, no doctor, no one can force me to undergo a medical intervention that I don't want to do. Imagine a pregnant woman going to her OBGYN and he says, well, you have to have an abortion because of population control. Well, no one can enforce and inflict an unwanted medical procedure upon you. So that's where I stand. But I applaud Ronald, and I wanted to bring you some words of encouragement to let you know that people very highly placed in these departments have been speaking out. I'll also let you know from personal experience that I had people from the Orange County, not Board of Supervisors, but from the Orange County Public Health Agency, right? You have the state and then you have all of the county agencies come to me for help because they were being discriminated against and being forced to obstruct their breathing and also become a human pincushion or undergo a nasal assault. I've helped people in the CDC. They came to me at the Healthy American for help in preparing their statement of objection to these illegal requirements. I had people from the pharmaceutical companies coming to me saying that they wanted to be exempt. I had people from the EEOC. I had people from the FBI, Department of Homeland Security. I had Navy SEALs coming to me. And I will let you know also about that lawsuit settlement that I'm not quite in favor of. I want these to be case law. I want them to go through the entire process and not just be settled out of court. That does not set a precedent for future penalties. So although I'm happy that they are getting, well, I'll cover that in another video. But the point I'm trying to make is many people at many levels in many government agencies stood up against this, and Ronald is one of them. That's why I wanted to bring you this information. He goes on to tell the public servants, I do not know whether my management apprised the California Department of Public Health senior leadership or if they informed the California Health and Human Services Secretary at that time was Dr. Mark Galey, or if they even alerted the governor, as I recommended that they do. My management told me that it appears that, are you ready for this? That Becerra misspoke. Oh, that's really rich. They said he was actually discussing deaths associated with cooties, not with the cocktails. Oh, yes, he misspoke. All right. Ronald says, during my nearly 30 years in California state civil service career, I have served as a public information officer at the Governor's Office of Emergency Services, the California Department of Motor Vehicles, the California Community Colleges Chancellor's Office, and the California Department of Public Health. I've been involved with formulating, drafting, formatting, disseminating, and posting hundreds of news releases Anytime there is a misstatement or even a missing word or even a typographical error committed by me or one of my colleagues or one of our subject matter experts, it's just common practice to correct the record. If he did misspoke, why did we not hear the HUD, the HUD secretary, or the domestic policy advisor, Susan Rice, or others immediately request him to correct his misstatement? Why is that video still on the White House's official YouTube channel for millions to see and hear? Unfortunately, Ronald writes, California Department of Public Health did not take this alarming information that I provided to them seriously. They made it about me, not about 40 million Californians. Initially, I was politely ignored, he says. I was threatened with disciplinary action, and then I was muzzled. Now, he's not talking about putting on the muzzle. He's talking about his voice was muzzled. I was issued a counseling memorandum for sharing with them this alarming information, which they should have shared with Californians way back in April 2022. Seeing there was nothing more I could have done to alert Californians about this health risk and warnings, I placed Californians' interest over my own personal interest, and I retired. I immediately incurred a 55% pay cut so that the state public health officials would not muzzle this information. Close to my retirement date, December 31st, 2023, I learned that 2 years prior in 2021, the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatricians and others knew that these cocktails were injuring and killing people. But particularly Fauci and then director of the CDC, Rochelle Walensky, continued to declare that they are safe and effective. Now we know why Becerra said what he said nearly a year later. So I find this absolutely fantastic. There's a little bit more that I want to share with you. Again, I'll have a link. I'll have all of this posted for you at my Substack, peggyhall.substack.com. Then Ronald goes on, he says, after analyzing 325 autopsies, medical researchers concluded there's a 73% chance of deaths related to the cooties cocktails. And this was a study initially published in The Lancet, which was then pulled. He has other studies that he refers to. He also references the Army, acknowledged that research has shown that a 24-year-old soldier's debilitating heart condition was linked to a lesser degree to the cocktail. And Ronald gives many, many other links and references that support what he's saying. I just love that he's sending this to the California the California Board of, the Orange County Board of Supervisors. You know, when I think about them, my mind it just is gripped with horror because they are so slimy. He finishes off by saying the California Health and Safety Code 101025 states the Board of Supervisors of each county shall take measures as may be necessary to preserve and protect the public health. So Ronald is saying you need to alert everyone in your county to the dangers of these cocktails, and I am putting you on notice to do so. He finishes up by saying, therefore, given the fact that these cooties cocktails pose a serious risk to the public, according to the Health and Human Health, whatever that is, the HHH, you know what I'm talking about, Secretary Becerra's statement, the VAERS data, the federal health officials acknowledged that the cooties cocktails are linked to myocarditis, and there are several studies plus a plethora of anecdotal reports of people dying suddenly. I strongly urge, he writes, the Board of Supervisors to warn residents and pursuant to and in accordance with the 101025 code to direct the Orange County Health Officer to stop promoting, administering, and distributing the cooties cocktails in order to preserve and protect the public health. Please include this document as part of the county public record. I am sending this document to California's 57 other Board of Supervisors. So I really appreciate that. And then I told Ronald that I'd be putting this on here on the channel. And he said, I thought you'd want to be kept in the loop. And he said, this was a time-consuming, this is just writing to me, it was a time-consuming, laborious, and meticulous project, getting all of this information put together to send it to 58 different county board of supervisor websites and to retrieve all of the email addresses, 296 plus 58 clerks of the board email addresses. He says the bottom line is that these county elected and appointed local officials have been officially notified that here in California, the cooties cocktails should be stopped. As I think about it, it's actually more people should be informed because there's assistant clerks of court and so forth. He says, I hope and pray that someone does the right thing for the sake of their local constituents and for the sake of humanity. What I did today, the California Department of Public Health should have done back at least in April of 2022. How many people could have been spared suffering, all of this suffering, had the California Department of Public Health senior leadership, if they had done their dang job? He says it a little more strongly. I should apologize for using that word. I'm just angered thinking about it. So I rechannel my anger constructively. Ronald is a man of faith. He has shown that he is a man of integrity as well. He resigned from his job because he could no longer go along with what they were doing. And he retired early because of that. I share this with you today because it's an example of taking action. We don't always know what results our action will yield, but it's important to take that action. Action can help you feel empowered. You can feel powerless and you can feel like a victim if you just sit around complaining all the time. Now, it's unlikely that the Orange County Board of Supervisors is going to issue a memo saying, he's right, these are horrible, we should stop doing it. That would be amazing if they did. But the fact is, people received this communication. And some people, at least, will have read it. And that begins to plant seeds in the minds of others. It may be that some of these individuals themselves have suffered health decline and disability. They may know people who have passed away because of this or who have had health challenges. And so in this way, it definitely does the job of helping to connect the clots. Thank you, everybody, for being on board. I am so grateful for you, Ronald, for being a healthy American, taking this action, writing this letter to the Board of Supervisors. And that's what we need to do, is keep taking action in a way that makes sense for us. Let me know in a comment what action you have taken recently. You know, watching this video, liking the video, commenting, resubscribing, also subscribing to the Substack. It's absolutely free. Those are all actions that you can take right now. It doesn't cost a penny. It really supports the work that I do, and I really appreciate having you on board. Thanks, everybody. I'll be back with you tomorrow. It's 4 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday, and always over at peggyhall.substack.com. I appreciate you being with me as we march this all the way